Austin Tech Connect is the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council. Founded in 1992, ATC exists to help unite the local technology ecosystem and to encourage the spread of community, collaboration, and conversations in Central Texas. This podcast is sponsored by SailPoint. They are a leading provider of identity security for the modern enterprise, empowering organizations worldwide to put identity security at the core of their business. With a foundation of artificial intelligence and machine learning, SailPoint Identity Security delivers the right access to the right identities and resources at the right time. Now, here is this week's episode.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Austin Tech Connect podcast. This is the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council. My name is Tom Singer, and I have been with the Austin Technology Council for about a year and a half, and I was hired to help reinvent this 33-year-old organization to help it get focused on the next decade. And one of the ways we do that is through this podcast. On this show, every week, I try to bring really engaging local leaders to you so that we can hear their story and get their ideas on how we all can thrive in the Austin tech ecosystem. And today I'm excited because I am joined by Gary Stevens, and Gary is the co-founder of Vendidit. Hey, Gary, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So for those of you who don't know Gary, and I didn't know Gary before just now, he is the co-founder of a couple of companies, and he is CEO of this one and another. He works in the reverse logistics space, and this new company takes AI and really makes it more efficient. He's trying to change the world with sophisticated but simple software that is going to help people in the retail returns area. And they make it more efficient, and it helps with everything, including impacting the environment. Gary is a pilot. He's a philanthropist. He's really into helping save animals and the environment. And from what I'm learning from our little short conversation before we started, he's a really nice guy who really does care. So Gary, let's get started here. How did you get started in business? What's your career trajectory?
Well, first off, thank you very much for that introduction. I might have to use that later. That was a great introduction. I really appreciate it, man. So, how did I get started? If I remember the question correctly.
Yeah, where did you start in business? What was early Gary doing?
Early Gary was, on the corporate track and really was learning from some great leaders in the technology space. I spent some time at Microsoft back in the good Microsoft days in the early 90s when we were building operating systems that had graphical user interfaces incorporated into them instead of running them on top. I was with part of the Windows 95 team that brought that product to fruition and brought it fully to market, even being in the retail stores the night at midnight when we released it. So that was my early career. And then at some point, I realized I wanted to be in control of my own destiny. And I used to build out huge data centers, large technology bunkers, and something got me thinking one day. I think it was a conversation that I had with one of my sales guys, who's with one of the big computer companies, and we were talking about technology that I would buy. I'd spend millions of dollars on an array and bring it into the data center, and then 2 years later, 3 years maximum, they would roll it out as if it was trash. And I always wondered about the second life of those products, and there had to be value there. And so it wasn't long after that, I started my first company in what's called the reverse logistics industry, which is interesting. A lot of people don't know what that is, but any product that has a second life to it or some sort of final disposition typically falls in what we call the reverse logistics industry. And that's every product made for consumers, period. Everything from the automobile you drive to the cell phone that you use to the clothing you wear, all of it goes down the reverse logistics chain. And so I started a business in that. And now I'm on my fourth company in this industry. And this one happens to be specifically software.
Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about Vendidit. So you're the co-founder, and you have kind of a famous co-founder. In fact, I am of the age where I remember watching TV and seeing all the commercials for Paul Mitchell hair products, and John Paul DeJoria did the commercials himself. as the leader of that company. And so he was kind of a celebrity. And I've lived in Austin for 30 years, and I know that he has been not front and center, but certainly active in and around Austin for much of that time. How did you connect with him, and how did you guys found this company?
Yeah, so John Paul and I were connected through friends and family many years ago, and we share very similar histories. I realized some success from absolutely nothing. Starting my first business with a hope and a prayer, and really had a lot of hard work and just willing to put in the effort and sell until I realized what I defined as success, which each one of us should always define what that word means to us individually. John Paul's the same way. He started Paul Mitchell when he was homeless, living out of his car with $700 and a hope and a dream. And now we know that the company that he's grown that into. And then the same was true when he started Patron. Patron Tequila, he started from absolutely nothing. It literally came from a taste testing trip in Mexico just to try some tequila back in the days when tequila was sold with a worm in it, and it was trash alcohol, what everybody used when they were partying too hard. And he really made tequila what it is today. That's why everybody always looks to his brands to be the absolute best brand in all industries. And so, that's how John Paul and I connected, was through, like I said, friends and families years ago. We share the same passions, and we've been working towards the same goals for the environment and for our businesses for years now.
Nice. So let's talk about this company. First of all, Vendidit. What does that mean? Where does it come from? It's easy to say. It's pronounced just like it was written. Some of these companies, I interview people, and I need voice lessons to be able to say the name of the company. I asked you, is it Vendidit? And you're like, yes. But where does that come from?
So very simple. Vendidit is Latin for sell or sold. Just that simple.
Wow, that was an easy answer.
Exactly. Yeah, and even I was shocked. I was just, we were thinking about this. We had this software that we used in Renew Logic, the other company in this space that we own. We had a software suite that we called Apex. And frankly, that came from finding the perfect spot on a curve, from a race car guy. When you hit the perfect angle going through a challenge, a corner, you apex the corner, as we call it. And then as we decided to redevelop that software and make it available to our competitors and everyone else in the industry, as well as industries outside of the reverse logistics space, I was surfing the internet one night just trying to think through things, and happened to look up Latin words that sort of matched what we were doing, and Vendidit was obvious, and it's been off to the races with Vendidit.com ever since.
Nice. Well, let's talk a little bit about your other company. Let's talk about Reverse Logic, another Austin-based company that you have and that you run.
It's Renew Logic.
I'm sorry, Renew Logic.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so Renew Logic is a company started in 2016, very traditional, what we would call reverse logistics industry, or a reverse logistics company in that industry, where we took products that were generally returned through what most of us know as the customer return counter inside of a brick and mortar store or e-commerce returns, and we would remarket those into secondary markets when we could. We would remanufacture or refurbish some items, specifically electronics, and resell those as second shelf goods. In other words, they're almost as good, almost the exact same experience as buying new, but sometimes 50 to 75% off. And then everything else that couldn't be resold or remarketed as it was disassembled and recycled in a very environmentally smart way. And so that's where we started in this industry. I had been part of two other companies that were in this industry, but Renew Logic was the first venture with John Paul and I in the reverse logistics space.
Nice. So let's dive in now to Vendidit. You just announced the launch of the company. I just read about it in the Austin Business Journal, a week or two ago. What are you doing, and why should everybody know about this, and who's your target market? Tell me about the company.
Yeah, so Vendidit very simply is an extremely powerful tool built on a machine learning algorithm, or as some people would call it, AI, that enables anyone who has inventory sitting in a warehouse or any commodity or anything of value that they want to offer up to a customer base in a very simple way. For a long time, the reverse logistics space, and still to this day, if they're not using Vendidit, they're doing all of their transaction. They're tracking all of their inventory and all of their sales through Excel spreadsheets and blind carbon copy emails. It's a very ugly way to do business. And the reason for that is all the forward channels, all the forward logistics, the warehouse management systems, the ERPs, the enterprise resource planning software suites, none of them are set up to handle inventory when it is returned by the customer or when it is not actually sold and it ages out on the shelf. None of them are set up for that. Instead, they usually get zeroed out and dropped into an Excel spreadsheet somewhere where they're tracked manually, what we call swivel chair technology, where inventory line item by line item is cut and pasted into other forms where it can be set up for sale. So Vendidit is the first software that allows you to dump your inventory into our receive portal in any way that you have it, whether it be in a very ugly, non-uniform, non-standard Excel spreadsheet. You can import that inventory. We immediately build sales. Some people call them auctions, but listed inventory that then goes out to a set customer base where they're allowed to either make an offer on what they would pay for that inventory to remove it from your facility and get it downstream into secondary markets, or it goes into an auction platform where your downstream buyers, your wholesale buyers, can compete for that inventory. And it all happens very fast. In the past, most companies, it's well reported, it's been extremely well studied. The average transaction time that it takes for most companies, whether you're a cell phone company or a clothing manufacturer or any distributors in between, the average time to make those transactions happen is 200 days.
Wow. From
the time you realize that that inventory needs to be liquidated because it's set off some sort of a threshold marker in your ERP, or you just happen to know that that's been sitting in the warehouse way too long and I need to sell it. From the time you realize that you need to make that available to anyone who would buy it, the average time is 200 days. With Vendidit, it's less than 15 seconds. And the way that we do that is we have an AI portal, a machine learning portal that allows you to import that data, however ugly you have it, currently sitting on your computer, import it, and we immediately make the items, the lots available on an auction platform to customers that you've predictated. Perhaps you have a CRM. We can take the data from your CRM, again, in any format because of the machine learning engine, import your customer data, and give you the tools to sort your customers and then sell directly to your customers based on predetermined categories that you have complete control over. It is a seller-centric marketplace for anything. We've even had content creators come to us who have YouTube channels and they say, I spend 20 hours a week negotiating with my sponsors and who's going to sponsor this video. And it'd be so much easier if I just listed this content available on your platform and allowed my sponsors to compete. And whoever pays the most based on criteria that I previously set, it's a closed deal. It's done. All the administration is done by the AI that is on our platform. Instead of you having to constantly cut and paste and send and receive emails, pick up the phone, negotiate, all of that happens via Vendidit. And so it really empowers the reverse logistics space where a lot of times smaller markets are desperate for the inventory. They can't afford to buy the brand new latest generation product that's coming off of the factory line, or they don't have the connections. They don't buy enough, so they can't have that direct connect. They want these secondary goods to put on their shelves. It allows them to immediately connect with available inventory by signing up as a buyer at vendidit.com and filling out the questionnaire. And then we make that information available to our sellers so they know who they're selling to. And then they can keep very close contact all through the platform. The platform will do it all for them, and it removes all the administrative headache. Picking up the phone and talking to the buyer, making sure it's going to the right place, making sure that they have all of their tax ID, their EIN, everything that they need if it's environmental certifications. All of that's already on Vendidit. So when they make their inventory available to that customer set, they know that they are qualified buyers and they're going to do the right thing with that inventory.
So a couple of things were interesting to me, being a layman to your industry. Number one, that it could be used by like a YouTube influencer to sell advertising. That wasn't where I thought this was going to go at all, right? I mean, I was thinking older cell phones, et cetera. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, what other applications does it have that's not just selling T-shirts that didn't sell?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I kind of stutter there because even we've been shocked because people have asked us, hey, that's pretty cool. I wonder if it would work in what I do. And we do tests. And because the software, the platform itself, the actual core code that it's built on was built to be self-learning and smart in the way that it imported data, even we were somewhat surprised in the diverse ways that we've been able to use it. And we're open to collaboration and partnering with anyone. So we found ourselves way outside of the reverse logistics industry in dealing with everything from, like you said, truckloads and pallets of every type of product that's in any consumer store anywhere in the world, all the way through to the trucks that actually carry the material throughout the country. Those have found their way on there. The heavy machinery equipment, all of that's found its way on there. 3D printing machines the size of my SUV have found their way on there. And things that you, as I always say, you can't hold in your hand, like we were talking about. The content creators listing their content available and who wants to sponsor it. Anything that you want to find what the value is of that, you can list it on Vendidit, seek out your customer base, and let them bid and tell you exactly what the value is on that. You don't have to take whatever the value is they assess, but allow the person who's actually going to pay for whatever that commodity is or knowledge, whatever it is, allow them to dictate what the price is, because most of the time it will surprise you. They will pay more for whatever it is you've got than you think it is worth.
So you see, you got the wheels spinning. I'm thinking about all the sponsorships that the Austin Technology Council has for events and for the podcast and for the newsletter.
That's right. And we found that with conferences where you have different booths where you're running out and you want those last few guys, like, well, you should have bought in the very beginning. Now you're providing them an opportunity to compete. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you allow the person who's going to give you the most value for whatever it is that you have? Why wouldn't you allow them to compete? Because everyone benefits, especially the market, the employees, and your bottom line.
So the other thing as a layman that sort of stuck in my head was that they get to pre-approve who gets to buy the product. Because I know from some friends who've had companies and stuff like that, where when inventory doesn't sell, they often destroy it because they don't want it to end up in the wrong place or become like a bargain basement, type thing. So this way they can control that it's actually going to the right level of reseller. And that's something that's interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can completely control the downstream, decide who we have one company. They're a large tire distributor. They have 3 customers. They wanted to add a 4th. It's a very lengthy process because they need to know that product is going into the right hands, right? They need to always make sure their product's going to the right place. In some cases, you have companies that come and say, yes, we need all of this destroyed. And so they want the people who are the recyclers to compete for that product. Oh. They list it and then they vet which recycler they will trust with it, because they know they're going to either disassemble it and recycle the actual parts, or they're going to do a mass recycling where usually it's fed to a shredder and then sorted and goes back into new products that are being manufactured. All of those, we generally refer to those as more of a commodity-based model. All of that can be transacted through Vendidit faster because, again, all the administrative part is removed. And this is really important. If you have someone in your downstream, especially in those areas where you want brand protection, you want your items destroyed and not entering the secondary market. If you have someone in your downstream that after you've done a transaction with them, or even before, you can register them on the platform and you can blacklist them, which means we use all the information we have on them, whether it be their EIN, their tax ID, their address, obviously their email address, but anybody can go recreate new email addresses and names. All of that is used to put a note on their file in the system so that everyone else knows, oh, for some reason they were blackballed from purchasing this type of material in the past. I wonder why that is. And then they can decide to stop doing that. That's where we really hope to clean up the environment, is by keeping this material out of the hands of the people who do not do right by the environment when they get their hands on it. We want to keep that inventory out of the bad actors of the world.
So this has been fascinating. It sounds like we could talk about this for an hour if we were sitting in a coffee shop having a latte. But I want to switch gears just a little bit, because one of the things I try to talk to everybody about, especially multiple company entrepreneurs here in Austin, people who are growing things, is why Austin? How did you end up here? And then what do you think's going on in our tech scene right now? What are we doing well? Maybe where can we improve as a tech ecosystem?
Yeah, I was one of those people that back in the early 2000s was sort of attracted to Austin because of, the way Austin was back then. It's still the heart and soul of Austin. I think that it's obviously, especially during COVID, became a technology center. That's what attracted me here originally was you could feel like part of a community, but you could also enjoy nature. We had just great people living in the city. The food scene was awesome. Obviously, the music scene was really, kicking. We have great festivals, although I'm not a person who attends a lot of those festivals nowadays. I'm busy, honestly. But back then, it's what I really sought. It was the connection to the people that were in Austin. So Austin's a great city to make connections, build lifelong relationships. And it's amazing how the culture here impacts technology specifically. That's my focus now. But it's interesting how that culture really, continues with people. Once they've gotten plugged into the Austin culture, it continues with them no matter where they live. So it's a great place to be. I think Austin will continue to develop as a tech hub for the world. But I think that it's important that we always diversify in what we're doing. We don't want to become a place that is so tech heavy that there are no jobs for those people who do not work in tech. And more importantly, that there are no homes that the people who do not have high salaries can afford. And Austin's always been good and smart at that. I think that we're like every other city. We have issues. But Austin's a great place to be. It's a great place to start a company and run a company. It's a great place to travel to and from. Our airport is obviously expanding like crazy. They've had their own issues. It's been boomtown, right? To borrow their marketing term, but it's been boomtown. And as a result, we've gotten caught as some people would say kind of behind the eight ball every once in a while. And our airport is one of those places, but it's a fantastic place. As you said, I'm a pilot. I'm familiar with what infrastructure we have and how we use that to get in and out of this place very quickly. Austin's a great place to be. And I think that we will continue to not only grow the tech industry here, but all of the supporting industries that come with it. The entire Austin area, it will just continue to grow by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I'm bullish on Austin. I wouldn't be running the Austin Technology Council if I didn't think we had a bright future. But you're right. There's some things that we have to be paying attention to, and I think we have to have more conversations. We need we can't just be focused on the startups. We need these established, growth-oriented companies with leaders like you, coming together publicly and actually being part of that dialogue, or else we won't have that guidance as we move forward. I want to go back to something you said when we first started. I made a note of this. There were two things that you said. One was you left corporate America because you wanted to control your own destiny. I hear that from so many people who I talk to who've started, tech companies or other types of companies. What do you think it is inside somebody? Because a lot of people are very successful, very happy, make a lot of money working in corporate America. What do you think it is with that entrepreneurial spark that makes people say, I'm going to go cut down my own trees?
Yeah, well, listen, first and foremost, nothing against the people who do really well in corporate America. God bless them. I am just one of those people that has high energy. I don't enjoy the normal hobbies and so forth in life. I tend to be a person that's extremely driven. I can very easily live on 4 hours of sleep a night and work my entire other 20 hours and enjoy every minute of it. I'm extremely driven, and I pursue my passions with everything in me, with extreme aggression and extreme tenacity. And so for me personally, when I was in corporate America, the politics that came with it seemed to always get in the way. I wasn't particularly good at building the relationships and getting people to understand my strategies without them feeling threatened at times. And I wanted to free myself of the burden of scaring other people because I dared to dream big and make big things happen. It's very scary being an entrepreneur. It's very scary wondering, will I be able to put food on the table tomorrow? You don't even think about next month. You think about the fact that your gas tank is empty, rent's due in 2 days, and you're eating ramen noodles. It is not a place to go if you are not a courageous person. And it takes more than believing in yourself. You know, John Paul, I've given him credit for multiple times of saying, one of the main things that man gives me is when I don't believe in myself, he still does. And there's something to be said for that. When you're surrounded, and that's another thing about Austin, when you're surrounded by people who believe in you and support you, no matter what your dreams are, anything is possible. And that's why we've seen everything that's gone on in Austin is because of that belief system. You know, I made the transition. I made the jump because I saw an opportunity. No one was taking advantage of the opportunity. And I either had the courage or the stupidity to think that I could do it. And I did. And I continue to do it. Just like with Vendidit. No one else was building software that was specifically built for the reverse logistics space, much less powerful, intelligent, efficient software. I have a history in software. It may be very old. It has nothing, in common with what these brilliant young men and women are doing in Austin, Texas, and across the world nowadays. But I knew just enough to know that, hey, I'll give it a try. I was willing to do it. You have to have the willingness to do whatever it takes if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur in today's world. And that's more than showing up to meetups and coffee shops and talking about how smart you are. Get to work. Put your face to the grindstone and make it happen for yourself, and surround yourself with people that are doing the same, and you'd be surprised what you can achieve.
I love it. I love it. So the other thing that you said was each one of us needs to define success individually. And this is something as I've gotten older that I've sort of realized. I spent a lot of time in my life and my career with my ladder against the wrong wall. And I did really well. And I got to the top of the ladder and I looked around and went, oh, shoot, this isn't the right place to have the ladder. So let's talk a little bit about defining success individually. What do you think that means? And what advice do you have for people who are listening who might have that ladder against the wrong wall?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was like everybody else in school, looking at beautiful cars, beautiful things, thinking those are the things that define success. When you make enough money that you can have that very expensive Italian or German sports car in your garage, or multiple of them, the beautiful home, whatever it is that modern society and advertising tells us is what makes us successful. It doesn't. I promise you. What makes you successful is when you lay your head down at night and you feel good about yourself and the impact that you've had on the people that are around you and who are important to you. And when you wake up in the morning, you're full of energy to go conquer the day, no matter what's in your bank account. You're excited about what you do. I know school teachers that work for peanuts, and they are the most successful people that I could ever imagine knowing. They're not paid well, but they have tremendous success because they're making a difference, a positive influence every single day. So do not define success. Do not put a dollar figure on it because you're cheating yourself. Instead, define success on what's the maximum positive impact you can make on anything and everything around you. And that is success, not the amount of money that you're worth.
I agree. And like I said, I had to learn that lesson maybe the hard way. But one of the things I see sometimes in the, I don't mean to be a generationalist and that, among some of the younger sort of the tech bro community in Austin is they don't respect people who aren't chasing, the dollar or aren't chasing, the prestige and things like that. How do we get the message out to people that that's great, that's where your ladder belongs, but we really need to respect that teacher or that person who isn't money motivated or isn't prestige motivated? Because I believe if we just respect everybody for the path they're doing, as long as they're not hurting anybody, I think we all get along better. What's your thoughts on what I just said?
I think you literally are echoing the voices that are in my head, which is I don't look at anyone's success based on a logo that they wear, some marketing that they bought into. I have a handful of friends that are in that billionaire list, that are on the Forbes list, and not a single one of them. I literally have 4 or 5 very, very close friends that are in that. And these are not people that I do business with. I mean, John Paul's obviously in that, but none of them would you ever find them with wearing a piece of clothing that has a logo on it. None of them would you find them driving some expensive high-end car, because to them, the definition of success is generally they can make on the people around them. But I surround myself with quality people. Not to say there are not plenty of billionaires out there that are simply proud of the logos they can buy and so forth. They set a very poor example for us, and shame on them for doing so. The reality is our police officers, our first responders, our teachers, the people who support what we do every single day that we so easily forget about, those are the successful people we should be looking up to. Those are the people I care about. One of the things I'm most passionate about in the world is animal shelters. Every single volunteer and every single person working down at Austin Pets Alive, we should all be going down there and buying them lunch every single day and patting them on the back because of the change that they are making to our community by sharing love through the love of animals, the love of pets. That's the type of stuff that makes people successful. When they're doing something that makes them feel good, obviously everybody has to pay the bills, but you don't have to be a multimillionaire or a billionaire to be successful. You can pay your bills, contribute to society and your community, and be very successful at just doing that. And you should be extremely happy that you're getting to do that, because there are a lot of people in the world that don't have that opportunity. America works, and the reason it works is because people believe in each other. I would say that if you believe in yourself and you believe in other people, you spread peace, love, and happiness, you are a success story. And you should pat yourself on the back and know that you're defined by the success, happiness, and smiles you spread, not by the amount of money you have in your bank account.
I'm speechless, and that doesn't ever happen on the show. So before I let you go, my personal motto, and I've spoken about this for years as a professional speaker, speaking at events, and it's weaved its way into the Austin Technology Council since I've been involved. My personal belief is that community, collaboration, and conversations can solve all problems. And I often use the example that what if all of our elected officials in Washington, every time they walked into the rotunda of the Capitol, could only operate by those 3 words: community, collaboration, and conversations? We'd have a better government and a better world. So when I say those 3 words, which one stands out the most with you and why?
Honestly, conversation. Conversations. And the reason for that is I've seen the world. I'm old enough to have seen the world change dramatically, especially in the last several years. And a lot of that has to do with misunderstanding. We make assumptions about each other. We make assumptions about groups of people. Let's stop doing that and let's converse. Let's make it okay for everyone to speak their mind and remember our right of freedom of speech. And let's have conversations that are calm, cool, and collected so that we can understand each other, find common ground, and work together to make this world a better place.
Awesome. So my last question for you. If you had a friend coming to visit Austin who'd never been here before, where would you take him to show off the vibe of our city?
Oh, my goodness. There are way too many. The first thing that comes to mind, frankly, is Zilker Park. Just a simple walk. And within minutes, you're in downtown where it's all, moving and fast paced. And if you close your eyes for a second, you might think that you're in the heart of Manhattan. And then simply a 5-minute walk from there, you're on a nature trail where you're just surrounded by beauty and fantastic people who are all out enjoying the outdoors. There's so much about this city. I have a hard time choosing where to even start when I have friends come into town. Never mind all of the other great entertainment venues that we have. Obviously, we have, just fantastic options as it relates to entertainment. But I say you start at the heart of the city, walk around, drive around, look at how fantastic where we live is. And it's just obvious to anybody who visits the city. It's beautiful, it's popping, and it's full of some of the most intelligent, ambitious people you'll ever meet in your entire life.
Nice. Well, Gary Stevens, thank you so much for being a guest here on Austin Tech Connect. Any final words?
Just thank you so much. It was great having a conversation with you, and I look forward to having more.
Yeah, me too. And thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened. You know, why would we do this podcast if nobody tuned in? We're trying to grow the show, so make sure you tell all your friends who work in and around our tech system here in our tech ecosystem here in Austin that they need to subscribe to Austin Tech Connect. And make sure that your company is supporting the Austin Technology Council. We're working hard to reinvent the organization. We're going back to our roots to try to become a grassroots organization. But as I say all the time, we can't be a grassroots organization if we're not supported by the grassroots. So please make sure that your tech company is a member of the Austin Technology Council.
Thanks for listening to the Austin Tech Connect podcast. Make sure your company is a member of the Austin Technology Council and add your voice to the future of our tech ecosystem in Central Texas.